one final issue that came up both in the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series race. You see Kyle Sieg down there in 28th, and you can go back to the question of the caution again, I guess, coming out. I think some fans felt like they were robbed of a green flag finish in the Xfinity race, but I think a car being upside down probably, yeah, that warrants caution immediately. Yeah, I don't think
there's not to argue.
I think that's a losing argument if you're going to say, oh, well, he was all the way, off the racing line and in the infield. Like, no, if a car is upside down, I think you have to throw the caution. I don't think you're going to be winning very many arguments if you're on the other side of that. But
race back to the line.
yeah, the race. Yeah, well, that conversation's come up in recent weeks as well. But again, I think that a flip should be a fairly obvious situation there. But you had that happen for Kyle Sieg on Saturday, and then you had this for Corey LaJoie again today as well, finishing 32nd. Obviously, Xfinity and Cup, very different cars these days, more than ever with the next gen era. But Brandon, how much of a concern from a safety aspect was this here for you this weekend? Obviously, even with the Xfinity package that they were running, Kyle Sieg was still able to get up in the air and go over a couple times, and then Corey LaJoie as well in the Cup race today. What do you think happened here at Michigan?
My eyes went wide open. I was sending an email or something like that, and I look up and I see Corey LaJoie is upside down. So kind of missed that, but yeah, you're right, Adam. Both of them were pretty weird. From what I remember, Kyle Sieg's was more of a crossover in front of him gone wrong, and just ended up on the bad side of it. But yeah, that's concerning, especially when it happens 2 days in a row at the same. Well, not 2 days in the same weekend, two different series. Both on the back stretch. It's always going to bring a concern, especially when they flip, and that's going to be a long look in the safety department where they. I think anytime a car flips, I think of Elliott Sadler 2003 Talladega every time, because that's just the image in my mind of going back and looking at a crash and figuring out how you can make the sport safer afterwards, which is what they always intend to do after those incidents happen. I'm just I hope this doesn't do anything negative for Michigan. It's certainly not a part of the track, and I hope they don't change packages or anything like that. Just whatever they change, I hope it doesn't affect the racing product in a negative sense.
Yeah, highly recommend if you haven't yet, go listen to Elliott and Hermie Sadler as well. We're on the Dale Jr. download not so long ago, and those incidents came up. Sadler's own flip at Michigan as well in the Wood Brothers car, and then obviously that Talladega crash as well. They kind of teased that, in a teaser for that episode, and Sadler talking about one of those wrecks and NASCAR having footage that they didn't want released. They wanted Elliott to see it, but I was thinking, are they talking about his Pocono crash that ESPN missed because they were focused on Kurt Busch and that weird sort of deal? But certainly some great insight from that episode. But Brandon, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to wonder, and I think some fans have picked up on this as well. Is it because the underbody of the next gen car is so smooth? Maybe is that allowing the air to have an easier time lifting the car up, and is that creating? We saw it. I think that was 22, right? So that would have been the very first race with this car, Harrison Burton at Daytona. Yeah. So, I imagine that it's been on NASCAR's radar ever since that happened, and certainly through testing and everything. But, is that something that you think could be playing a role in at least the LaJoie incident that we saw today?
I'll preface this with, I'm not a physicist, but the cars have never been so flat on their bottom all their since the beginning of the sport. There's always been little, different places where the air can go, and now it all just airplane mode. So, it's not hard to understand why car can go in air, but there's all sorts of things on top of the car too that they've developed over several decades, that the roof flaps and what have you, and now the on the hood as well, everything designed to, and the spoiler as well, everything designed to keep the car planted to the ground at all costs. But the way the universe is set up, there's just some things you can't stop. And there's an infinite. The problem with trying to make things safer is there's an infinite number of ways that we can and will find to place these cars in different situations. There'll always be a new way to make them flip. I think. I don't know if we'll ever keep them from like 100% chance they'll never take off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the laws of physics would still find a way. You know, you can never be 100% confident when you get in one of these cars that there's a 0% chance that, you know, you're going to take off, you know, if you spin out or get hit just the right way or whatever. But yeah, you never like to see cars get upside down. So certainly thankful that Kyle and Corey are both okay here. But yeah, you know, something to keep an eye out for with that diffuser on a next gen car. You know, if that played a role, and I'm sure, you know, NASCAR's already taken a look at it or will be this week at R&D to see what happened there and how to try to, if not prevent it in the future, at least mitigate the risk so that it doesn't happen again. Because again, like we talked about earlier in the show, I don't think it's an issue with Michigan. I certainly think that it deserves a place on the calendar, and I hope to see it on the calendar for many years to come. But yeah, at the same time, you know, concerning to have multiple flips this weekend, and certainly want to get to the bottom of that if we can.